Our lives are a series of stories and lessons learned. I love connecting with people through stories. I have seen myself evolve through the years and believe we never stop evolving. Each avatar has a purpose, each trial by fire has a lesson, each story has a message. These stories helped me reclaim my confidence and awaken my divine feminine energy. We all have Devi within us. These entries are what helped me realize just how divine can be. Welcome to Devi Diaries.
Hello, Davies. Today is a very unique episode. Unique in the sense that I'm going to speak to something that just happened to me very recently rather than something that I've been thinking about a long time and wanted to talk about it. Uh I want to talk about my recent anxiety spike. So, this will relate to mental health. Just kind of a warning that if it's something sensitive for you to listen to right now, proceed with caution. I'm going to be talking about myself, my therapy journey, my anxiety, where it stemmed from, especially in this particular most recent scenario. And I advocate for therapy. And I'm not a medical professional. These are my thoughts, opinions, and real life experiences. So please take all of this with some sort of grain of salt. But yeah, I recently had a full on anxiety spiral. It's not my first time being anxious. Everybody has obviously some anxiety. Um, but I've never been anxious in this way before. Um, I was just not able to handle my thoughts. They were overwhelming, and I'm already an overthinker by default. I was diagnosed with ADD as a kid. I think a lot, therefore I say a lot, and that's just who I am by default. But recently there was just too many thoughts, and even if I tried to just acknowledge and pocket them by telling myself, okay, yes, I'm having a surge of thoughts and feelings, but now is not the right time for me to address them, would try to take a deep breath and have it kind of dissipate again, like I said, put in a pocket, but it would just keep coming back with a vengeance, like, deal with me now. And I'm like, oh. Or I would have to, and it would result in me crying. Because it was affecting me. Um this time, no, like the mental health walks, the distractions were only temporary, very temporary, band-aids. I felt like anytime I tried to take a deep breath, count to 30, which is usually pretty relaxing to just take a deep breath and, you know, um, feel a sense of relief. It did not matter how many deep breaths I took. It was not helping. It was not helping my brain. So I just sought anything to disassociate or from my day to day. I just needed to think about anything other than my own life. Um, my therapist had mentioned my anxious nature before and had also mentioned medication before. And usually in the context of, if this continues for another week, let's talk about let's talk about medication or what can help. I usually will take magnesium supplements, which is supposed to help kind of calm your body, so it's like the alternative to quote act like anxiety medication. But this time around, the give trying to give it the time and all this other stuff, like my mind were not communicating. My emotional and logic were fighting each other. Like logically, I knew some of this stuff was a little like I wouldn't advise this to a friend kind of logic. Like I'd be like, hey, that doesn't make any sense. Like you should be more optimistic, or you should give your friends the benefit of the doubt, or you should, think about it this way. My emotions could not listen to that. So yeah, I finally, because I was having that kind of struggle, I finally said okay to medication. And I actually went seeking it out because I was like, I don't think I can. I think it was starting to become very clear that I could not handle this in my usual ways that I'm able to handle my anxiety. So I reached out to my primary care physician. She assessed me, came to the conclusion that I am very anxious and depressed, and I was really scared about taking medication. It made me really uncomfortable. It did kind of make me feel like something was broken, that like I couldn't just kind of get it together like I could in the past. And that was scary. And I reached out to friends who I was comfortable telling and saying like, yes, please check in on me. Um, and the few friends and there were a few other friends that I reached out to saying, "Hey, I think I need to take medication because the anxiety is getting so bad. I cannot like change my sheets like without fully breaking down and crying. Like the thoughts are consuming me. I can't just like cry while doing something. It's more of like I have to stop what I'm doing and let it consume me. And I cannot live like that. Uh I need a solution, and I'm scared to take medication, but I guess if there was a time, this is the time, this is the reason. And they talked me through it. My friends talked me through it. They told me what kind of medications they've been on, how it can help. Obviously talked to the doctor about it. My doctor is also someone who I mean, I talk a lot about my stories in general. So she knows me relatively well. And so she was also super understanding and being like, "Okay, I'm going to put you on a super low dose. Like this is not obviously it's not a permanent fix and it's super low dose, so like it may not help. So if you don't feel like it's helping, it's okay to take more." We talked through the dosage and the frequency, and obviously like there was a specific amount prescribed. And yeah, so I was made to feel very comfortable. Everything was explained to me, which was super helpful because then I was later also able to explain it to my mom, who knew that something was going on with me and I wasn't okay. And she was like, "Yes, talk to your therapist. Okay, you need medication? Take the medication. Do what you feel like you need to do to be okay." Now, for those of you who don't know, I don't live close to my parents. They live in New Jersey, I live in Texas. And so my parents are not it's not like I can drop things and like drive over to my parents' house or vice versa where they can be like, "Oh my gosh, you need me. Let me just drive over." Right? There's a whole flight involved. And also, maybe you can relate to this, but in my home, in my apartment, when my parents come over, I'm still playing that role of daughter, but I'm the daughter that's hosting my parents. And so it takes on a different level of stress, and I don't necessarily mean it in a negative way. I'm just like, I want to show my parents I can run my home, right? This is my home, this is my household, this is how I keep my household, and I'm happy to have you here visiting me. Versus when you go home, it's their house and you do things by their rules and da da da, da all this other stuff. So I really so appreciate when my parents know that I'm going through a hard time and they're like, "Do you want us to come? Do you want us to come visit?" And I know that their intention is that they want to come and take care of me. But in my brain, I'm like, that will stress me out so much more. No, please do not come and visit. I would rather be the one to go to them, in these kinds of cases. But anyway, I digress. It was helpful to explain to my mom what how medication works, how anxiety medication works, and where this is coming from. And she even, which bless, I love you. She even later said, I'm gonna try to find a therapist to help me understand how I can best support you when you go through these things. And I was like, that is so sweet. I love that she wants to do that. Um, and I feel so lucky that I have a parent who just tries so hard to understand. And I told her, like, I don't know if we need collective therapy. I'm already doing therapy, but like, I love that you want to find out. And what I can tell you is the best thing that you can do for me is ask me, how can I best support you? And once I'm able to figure out what kind of support I need, I'll be able to tell you. But with medication, with therapy, with time, um, and some work that required me to focus. So I was distracted from my personal things because I had some work, like tasks at hand that had to be done. Um, and over time, uh, my anxiety dissipated, and I was able to also talk to friends more about my anxiety and what I was going through, what I was feeling, and what my real fears were. So again, my therapist helped me through that. And I'm now on the other side of it. Like I even just had therapy today, as a matter of fact, a couple of hours ago. And she was like, "You seem great." And I was like, "I am back to my old self, who is way more optimistic, way more positive." Like it's so funny like this time last month, how much of a mess I was and who I am today, like a month later, after all this. So it really got me thinking. Now, this is Devi Diaries under the House of Devi, and we talk about feminine energies. So it got me thinking. Women are known for being emotional, right? We carry the mental load of things to be done, and we are just known for being more go with the flow, trying to take care of people, right? And so the divine feminine energy includes emotional expression, empathy, compassion, and all these things can weigh really heavily when piled on top of each other. And I personally know mainly of women to talk about their anxiety more than men. Um, I do not personally know very many men who share their anxiety or at least share it often. I find it to be quite rare. If I know any men that have shared their, I know like one that's coming to mind right now, but I don't know very many men who say like, "Oh, I'm anxious," or "I'm anxious about X," or like very something specific. Um, but I do know how women get anxious, and I like, all my female friends, how they're anxious, or what is causing their anxiety, or how emotionally exhausting world events are making them feel. And so they need to dissociate from the news, because they'll see what's happening, in Palestine, and their heart breaks for children. Like, as women, the feelings run deep, like the empathy, the sadness, like sometimes they can just run so deep and really just impact in such a particular way. So I did a little research. I did a little research because I was thinking about how crazy anxious I got and how I only really know mainly women to be that anxious. The National Library of Medicine states that, particularly among European and American women, anxiety disorders are the most prevalent and disabling in women over men. And the FDA, so the Food and Drug Administration, shares that women are more than twice as likely as men to develop an anxiety disorder in their lifetime. They're treatable, and I just like, obviously, like, anxiety disorders are treatable, but I just found these stats fascinating and also unsurprising a little bit. Have you ever received a bit of information that you're like, I never thought about it before, but that makes so much sense? Here's that was it. If you're also saying like, I'm not even surprised by that. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't even seem that surprising that women are more anxious than men because it's in our nature to be more emotional and to take on a, to handle or take on a multitude of feelings and emotions. And so I would almost equate it to like a mental load, right? Of, I guess, more emotions, right? Things to be done, feelings to process, and all that other stuff. So I know a fair number of women in my life who have anxiety and have spoken up about it, but I still decided to try to find another point of view, right? So I asked my younger brother, who has his own mental health journey as well. And so I just asked where it stemmed from, just because I was interested in that answer. And he said fear. It came from fear of X, Y, and Z. And so I thought that was very interesting because fear is a more immediate feeling and anxiety is a more prolonged feeling, not entirely dissimilar to fear. Right? Like anxiety is fear of that something will happen in the future, but fear itself is something that is happening in this moment. You know, when you're scared, something's happening and you're scared. Versus anxiety is, I am scared that something will happen. If you're familiar with catastrophizing, similar, same but different, you know what I mean? Catastrophizing, you're trying to think about what the worst case scenario is, and I would associate that with anxiety because you're fearing something that has not happened yet, right? Whereas fear is literally I am scared of something that's happening. If that makes sense, if you're following me on this. Again, this is just my thoughts, opinions, and collection of insights that I'm sharing. I'm not saying I'm right about everything. I'm just saying that the anxiety that I faced just kind of like, and my desire to want to talk to you about it, you the audience and the listeners about it is what kind of put me into this rabbit hole to just explore. So I thought that that was interesting that he, being a boy, being male, gave the response of fear instead of anxiety. So I know for me, I try not to, quote, say too much about the things I feel I need or want and try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, or brush off my own hurt feelings by saying, by justifying that, like, well, they don't mean it, right? Like, they're not, my friends are not doing this out of malice. My parents are not doing it out of malice. They're not trying to make me feel bad. I am just feeling bad and I have to get over it. Which my therapist helped me process that, like, my feelings are very justified and I can still believe that nobody's being malicious while also still feeling hurt that I may want love support or even attention in a particular way, and if I'm not receiving it in that way, to feel hurt by it, and that's okay, right? Because it's what you do with those feelings, and the constant suppression of it was not helping me, rather than the sharing of how I'm feeling, even though it is a tough and uncomfortable conversation, is actually what ended up helping me. Like, I had a moment with my mom and I got really upset, and she was also like, I don't know what I did and or what I didn't do, and now you're upset about something. How do I fix this? What happened? What do you want? And I told her, I wish you would have responded differently. I wish you would have done this because it matters to me. And she was like, okay. And then when she had the opportunity to do exactly what it is I wish she would have done, she did it. And then she reached out and told me, she's like, hey, it was kind of like kismet that she got a second, like an opportunity presented itself again, almost like not immediately, but like soon after I said that. And she was like, remember how you said you wanted me to do this? Well, an opportunity came up and I did it. And I was like, thank you, Ma. Thank you so much. She listened. She understood, and she did her best to follow what I asked for. And so that, I thought that was also, again, it's not like it's eye-opening. Like, obviously when you ask for something and then someone does exactly what you asked for, like, isn't that great? But again, when anxious and therapy, all that stuff, it's sometimes it's like, oh yeah, that when you ask for something and get it, that feels really good. And it makes you want to ask more, and just be like, hey, actually, it turns out this is what I would like. This is what I need. Are you able to do this for me? And friends, family, loved ones, whoever, if they can't do it, then that's, a whole other thing to be like, okay, well, how do I process the disappointment or anything there. But then when they say like, "Oh yeah, okay, I hear you and I understand your perspective. Yeah, I'm gonna try to meet you as there as much as I possibly can, right? Whatever is within my means to fulfill your request as a person that I love and care for. Absolutely, like I'm gonna do my best there." And that is such a for me was such a great feeling. So that's a little also insight of what happened to me is that I asked friends and family for a particular level of support. And I got mostly positive responses. What sent me into my anxiety spiral was the negative response from somebody who I really, really love, admired, trusted, and was very close with over a long period of time. Their response um, was confusing and not ideal to where it got me afraid, and it was one of the first responses too. And so it got me worried that, oh my gosh, I asked like 10 friends for support, and now like the first response I'm getting is like hey, I don't think I can like meet your needs or like whatever this request is, I cannot fulfill it. And therefore I'm gonna not be friends with you anymore. And I was like, what? So then my fear and anxiety came from what if all my friends decide not to be friends with me because I am asking for too much, right? And so that's what kind of set me off. And then I was able to come back because then eventually all the friends responded with, hey, I get it. I'm sorry I didn't do it before, but I'm glad you told me, and I can absolutely do some of these things because I also provided examples of I would love like if you can support me, I would love support in these ways. And they're like, "Cool, I can do some of these things. No problem. Had no idea you were feeling this way, but thank you for telling me." And I was like, "Wow, there you go." That's all I needed. So what's my point, right? My point is, all humans have anxiety, right? When all those divine feminine qualities become a messy mud puddle of emotional overflow, I think that overdrive of feminine energy is what is anxiety, right? Because that overflow doesn't help. So I think my sort of conclusion on this is that anxiety is is feminine, right? It's feminine qualities, and having the divine feminine energy of being able to empathize and show compassion and caring is so beautiful. And that anxiety is just when all of it just gets jumbled up into a mess, right? And then it's like, like if you have like a really thin chain and it just kind of becomes a knot and you're like sitting and trying to untangle it. It's dainty, it's a knot, it's a mess, and you're trying to just slowly kind of figure out where the knot is and kind of pull at them gently so that you can unravel and come back to your baseline. So, everyone is seeking the right balance of masculine and feminine energies, right? That doesn't always mean it's 50-50 of like masculine and feminine energies. It depends on the person of what's the right balance for them. And if you have a partner, right, that can also change things. In my last episode with Letha J, we talked about uh and like manifesting and all that. We talked about another like she talked about her husband, and I also talked about a partner coming into my life who helped me sink more into my feminine because he brought masculine, right? And she says the same thing about she had to be more masculine because that there were things that had to be done, but when there was a masculine enough person, a person with more masculine energies and more masculine qualities that came into the picture, it allowed her to sink into her feminine. And so it's not going to be 50-50 for everyone all the time, every day, in every scenario. Or that's everybody's baseline, right? Everybody has their own correct levels. It's not 100% this or that. It should be a combination of everything because everyone has masculine and feminine energies within them. With my therapist, I advocate for therapy very much. Um, I love my therapist. When I was like super duper anxious, I was texting her frequently because she gave a text number and I was texting her all the time and I was just so scared. And then I kept apologizing. I'm like, I'm so sorry I'm bothering you and I'm just feeling these things and I'm overwhelmed and da, da. And she was really cool about it. And she was like, hey, as long as you understand, she's like, this is not bothering me. And she's like, as long as you understand that, like, I can't give immediate responses, like, I have things going on. And so I'm replying as I can, but it does not bother me. And I was like, okay, thank you. Um, that was good. And when I also was able to identify that I was struggling, and the friends that did reply to my message, and even though I was in a kind of spiral, I would be like, hey, I'm not okay, actually, like, thank you for responding, this really helps me. I just wanted to let you know, like, I'm in a really dark place right now and I'm fighting logic and emotion, please check on me because I might need it. um, and I had friends check, "Hey, how's it going?" I had a friend literally text me the words, "Checking in. How are you doing?" And another friend who was just like, "Hey, it's been a while. Do you need an ear? Do you need to vent? Do you need, just different levels of people check my friends, not just people, my friends checking in on me, and that was really nice. So I'm glad I got all the help that I needed. I'm glad I was able to recognize that I needed the help and then able to articulate it. So I highly advocate for therapy. If you don't know where to start, I sought therapy, and I found my therapist through the BetterHelp app, and I followed her to another platform called Alma. It was literally just like I was in a bad place and I realized I need a therapist, and it helped me to know that, like, even though it wasn't like an immediate I jumped on BetterHelp and my therapy appointment was that day, it helped me to know that, like, okay, now that I know my appointment is in 2 days, I just need to make it 2 days to meet and talk to this therapist and tell them what's going on. And now it's been like 3 years and she's awesome. So yeah, for anybody listening and needed to hear this or thought anything about, like, oh, therapy helped you, I don't even know where to begin. There's a place for you to begin. Um or, also, like, if you're just intrigued about, like, my hypothesis, I'll call it, of I don't know if it's a hypothesis, but it's my insights on how anxiety is actually just a mess of feminine energies caught in like the crosshairs. Yeah, this episode, I guess, I hope you found it interesting. If you feel that you are really anxious and suffering with anxiety, obviously please seek medical help and attention. I am not a doctor, I am not a professional. I just have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of opinions. I also have a lot of feelings, and so I'm just here sharing them. I know it can be hard to handle sometimes. Um, and you try not to beat yourself up over it and things like that, and it's easier said than done. But I hope everyone out there has a solid circle of people that they can reach out to, loved ones that they can reach out to and share that they're not okay, and kind of trust that they're going to be there for them, even if it's just family, even if it's just your parents or a sibling. I hope everyone out there listening has those people. And if you don't, I hope you find them. Because I feel really grateful that I can just text my therapist and she will eventually respond to me, even if it's not immediate, but I know that I have that, right, as my worst as my worst case scenario. And so I know I am grateful that even if I recognize what's going on with me a little too late, that I can reach out to people and say, "Hey, I need some help or I need some support," or anything like that. So, you got this, Davy. You're not alone. You're stronger than you know. And remember, Anxiety, she's there. She's just like you. She's a woman and she's just trying to figure it out. So you got this. Stay strong and be well. Thank you for listening to this entry of Baby Diaries with your host, Kari Badshaw. Catch House of Baby shows on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Kari Badshaw, Big Baby Energy, and Shop House of Baby for more content. Until the next one, keep shining, babies.